Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get our last day of this virtual event started, and it's been a great 2 days so far. And I want to welcome everyone that's joining us this morning for the coffee chat with Dayle Hayes. She is with School Meals That Rock, and I am going to let her take the virtual floor this morning. And for the next 30 minutes, she has a wonderful presentation and to get this event started today. So welcome, Dayle. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you so much, Carrie. I am delighted to be here. Of course, I'd rather be in Texas with you, enjoying some delicious cuisine, but actually it's very convenient. I am at my son's home in Philadelphia, where I have a new grandbaby and a 2-year-old grandson. So to be able to use his office this morning to speak to you is an absolutely wonderful thing. I want to thank the Region 10 folks, especially Lori Ramos and Carrie Wartnick, for inviting me to speak this morning, and of course for making everything work in terms of being able to be in Pennsylvania and speak to Texas. I am Dayle Hayes. I'm a registered dietitian, and I've met many of you over the years when I've come to Texas to speak for various events, including last year, most recently, to talk about with Dairy Max to talk about chocolate milk. So basically, here's the places you can find me online. I'm going to be talking about one of these places, Tips for School Meals That Rock, in more detail in just a little bit. But you can download my slides, and then you'll have all the ways to contact me after this presentation. By the way, I just want to say that my picture shown here is actually taken in a high school greenhouse in Montana. I live in Montana, and before all of this COVID, I visited schools all across the country as often as I could, and this was a picture I had taken in a greenhouse. I told you I was going to talk more about one of the ways that you can be in touch with me, and that is on Tips for School Meals That Rock. This is a Facebook group, and now we have almost close to we're getting really close to 16,000 members. This is a community on Facebook where people can share things, people can ask questions, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what goes on Tips for School Meals That Rock. It's all free, and it is something designed to support you in your week. In your work, excuse me. Thank you again to Lori and Carrie, and I want to say that the only presentation I was able to catch yesterday was Lally's presentation in the morning, but it was wonderful, and actually I will talk about one of her slides shortly. The past 6 months have been, I don't even know if there's one word for it. Anxious, scary, desperate. I think the looks on her face here and the little boxes talk about all the ways that our life has been disrupted, our lives have been disrupted, and certainly how your work lives have been disrupted. But I think what's very important to remember in this situation is that there are some silver linings. My silver lining is that I get to be grandma here in Philadelphia and hang out with my grandchildren for an extended period. But in terms of feeding children, the silver lining really is what people have learned about school nutrition heroes. I think that over the years, I certainly have talked about how essential school nutrition folks are, not just to feeding kids and their health, but to their academic success. What's happened during especially the emergency feeding that occurred starting in March. For many people, it started March 16th when they had to, quote, pivot over a weekend and start feeding emergency meals. The silver lining there is that the world knows how essential school nutrition folks were and are to their communities. In many communities, they were providing food when no one else was, and that was an incredible service to your communities. So I've always considered you to be heroes, but now, to my mind, you are superheroes. And now we're facing more challenges as we move from emergency feeding to schools reopening, and schools reopening with incredible variety of ways of doing that, and things that may change again from day to day, and having to do that pivoting. But I am absolutely certain that school nutrition folks will cope with what comes down and will be able to continue feeding kids, which is the most important thing. I know a lot of people are worried now because participation numbers are going down, and they're looking for ways to increase participation, to get it back to where it was before, say, remote learning. And this, I think, this graphic really is something to keep in mind and surround yourself with. Look how much you've already managed to adapt to. Look how resilient you've already been. There's no right way to respond to this because it's never, ever happened before. Give yourself some credit. There's no one in the whole world who has this figured out yet. So it's absolutely okay if you don't either. The most important things to me in these statements are that already school nutrition folks have shown how resilient they are, and that there's no one right way to do this. One of the things that we really try to do on school meals, tips for school meals that rock, is to share all the different ways that people are doing it, to share the ways that people are being successful and making this work. I just picked two pictures from two districts that I follow, Aldine ISD and Mansfield ISD. Both great programs, rock star districts, but there are so many rock star districts in Texas, and people who are personally and in terms of food really showcasing how much they are ready and able to serve their students and their scholars. So, you know, again, there are lots of challenges along the way, but people are really dealing with those, and certainly Texas is no exception. And when I see, this is from Dallas ISD, when I see the incredible food that districts are sharing across Texas, I am so impressed. Fresh foods, canned foods, prepared foods, all the ways that you are serving students. I am so impressed. And yes, maybe hard to find packaging sometimes, and product is always a concern, although I know you've had some wonderful sponsors working with you during this meeting. And you know, industry is also pivoting and looking for ways to provide those products to schools. This is a picture. It doesn't happen to be from Texas, but it did happen to be posted recently on Tips for School Meals That Rock, the Facebook group that I mentioned. I like this picture for so many reasons. Number one, it is showcasing the fact that over 50,000 meals were served by this district. The district is in La Crosse, Wisconsin, but they served over 50,000 meals in the month of September. Now, I know other people are struggling to get their numbers up, but clearly they have found ways to reach the people who need the food. I also liked, of course, how they were socially distanced and wearing their masks. But I think the thing that makes me happiest about this photo is that they look like superheroes. The kind of lighting, actually, it sort of reminded me of a football tunnel. And that's not a sport, but this certainly is a crew or a team of people who are really serving their students and their scholars well. And I know that lots of you are doing that as well. So it's really important not only to be doing that and to be serving those meals, but it's also really important, in my view, to be sharing that information with your community. One of the things that we know about these drops in participation is that some people don't know that schools are still serving meals. They don't know that those meals are still free, and they don't understand that remote learners or virtual learners are also eligible to get those meals. So communicating that message, communicating the dedication that School Nutrition Heroes has to feeding kids is really important. So I hope that many of you are sharing and showcasing what your districts are doing. One place you can do that, you don't have to have your own social media accounts, but one place where we really encourage you to share that information is on the Tips for School Meals That Rock Facebook group. So once you get into this group, what it means is that you can post your photos, you can post questions, and you can really crowdsource answers to the questions that you have. I think one of the problems sometimes is that we can feel very lonely, and that the issues that we're facing are just our own issues, when in fact the things that you are facing, the questions that you have are the kinds of questions that nearly everybody has around the country in school nutrition. They may be slightly different depending on whether you're a big district or a small district, or rural district or an urban district, but a lot of the questions are the same. And on Tips, we encourage people to post those questions, to share resources, and to share their successes. I mean, that's where I got all of those photos from, is from districts who share on Tips for School Meals That Rock. One of the things that Lori asked me to share this morning and to talk about in terms of coffee talk, and by the way, she literally had me at the word coffee. So I'm happy to do anything that involves being able to enjoy coffee while speaking to folks. But she asked me to address a resource which essentially we crowdsourced and developed through the Facebook group. It's the dining guide for meals in the classroom. And I just want to tell you a little bit about why we did this dining guide, who we put it together with, and how you can access it. And this is a slide I borrowed from Lally's presentation yesterday morning, and she was talking about the resources and the grants and those kinds of things that are available through Dairy Max. And she emphasized the importance of meals in the classroom, that in this time when we are looking for ways to increase the meals served, because that means the financial viability of our programs, meals in the classroom may increase that overall reimbursement for meals served. Meals in the classroom, many of you have probably doing breakfast in the classroom for years, but meals served in the classroom mean that there's increased participation. Increased participation because it's easy, but also increased participation because be reduced stigma if you serve in the classroom and everybody's eating. And you can just see here that the statistics are that many more children participate when served in the classroom. I love this picture, by the way. If I'm not mistaken, it's for Northeast ISD outside of San Antonio. And I love the brightness and the just looking at those school nutrition heroes makes me smile. So meals in the classroom may be an important option for many reasons, both for safety, but also as a way to increase participation. How did we get started on this dining guide, which is available to everyone in the sound of within the sound of my voice? You can access all of the components of dining guide for meals in the classroom. I'll tell you how in just a moment. But actually, the whole process started on Tuesday, June 23rd, when Jessica Shelley, who is a director in Cincinnati Public Schools, sent me a message and said, hey, well, she posted actually on School Meals That Rock, what are people going to do about serving maybe all meals in the classroom, including breakfast and lunch and maybe a fresh fruit and vegetable snack and a supper? How are people going to do this? And I said, Jessica, I need a project. I want to contribute something to what's going on now. I'd be glad to help work on this dining guide. So we went on Tips for School Meals That Rock, and we posted this request that we wanted ideas from people in the group. And the ideas started to flow in, and we put together a group of people who worked on this issue for a remarkably short amount of time. I think actually from start to finish, it was only about 4 weeks that we took to develop these materials. You can see the list of folks who helped out. Some of these may be people whose names you're familiar with or people you've met over the years in various school nutrition meetings. I did look at it this morning when I was getting ready, and I thought, uh-oh, we didn't invite anybody from Texas to be part of the steering committee group, but we did get lots of ideas from Texas because Texas has so many great ideas. The dining guide was supported by SNA, the School Nutrition Association, and in particularly by a group of folks called the Partners for Breakfast in the Classroom. And that is a group of people who have been working together for many years with funding from the Walmart Foundation. The Walmart Foundation funds efforts for breakfast in the classroom because they really do understand how important meals are to children's learning. And the Partners is a consortium of national organizations, the School Nutrition Foundation, FRAC, Food Research and Action Center, and the National Education Association's foundation as well. So we worked together for about 4 weeks. We had numerous calls, and we put together a set of resources. Again, these are available online. They're on the School Nutrition Association website, schoolnutrition.org. This is the link, but honestly, if you just go to the website and search Dining Guide for Meals in the Classroom, you'll find this. And these are all the resources that are available there. I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of the resources that you can print and use or use digitally. But before we do that, I want you to look in the bottom right here and see that there's also links to a video library and to some additional resources. So these videos are about breakfast in the classroom mostly, just because that's what have been produced so far, but we will be adding additional resources, and a lot of the materials for breakfast in the classroom are completely applicable to lunch or snacks or any meal that's served in the classroom. Our goal in developing this guide was to help school nutrition programs communicate with district stakeholders about meal service in the classroom. We know some people have been doing breakfast in the classroom for a long time. People understand the advantages, but they may not have been thinking of other meals in the classroom. So MIC stands for Meals in the Classroom, just like BIC stands for breakfast in the classroom. And we realized that within a school district that there were several groups of people who would need to know about meals in the classroom and what schools were planning to do. So we developed materials for all these different stakeholders. And the materials that we developed are completely customizable. So these are some of the materials, an example of meals in the classroom information for a school nurse or a health official. We provide these in two different formats. On the right, you see sort of a table format, and on the left, a table format, and on the right, sort of just a letter format, and it's exactly the same information. But all those yellow pieces are places where a district, your district, can customize this to your information. So you don't have to follow anybody else's direction. You just have to insert your school name, school building, and then talk about, for example, what your specific policies are regarding, since this is for school nurses, issues like food allergies. So we have different templates for different groups. We also have different instructions for each meals in the classroom template. So it's same information you saw on the previous slide, but here there's a table on the left-hand side where you can insert and customize your own information. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see information in red, and that's just some suggestions about what you might add in those places. So we're not telling you how to place garbage cans or what your food allergy policy should be. What we're providing is examples of the kinds of things that you need to communicate with other folks. This is from my co-administrator on school meals, Tips for School Meals That Rock. Jeannie Riley is a director in Maine in a relatively small district. Her district is operating on a hybrid model. They're going to have students and staff eating in classrooms. They're also doing delivery and pickup for distant learning. And as she underscores here, that they need to stay flexible and creative. We talk regularly, and they've had to pivot and change things already. One of the things we realized in developing this guide and talking about meals in the classroom is how critical principles are for that discussion. You'll notice on the title of this slide, it says room service. In WINDHAM-RAYMOND, Maine, that's what they call their program for meals in the classroom. They call it room service. And I know that for many years, El Paso ISD called their breakfast in the classroom room service. Just a great name. It sounds a little more upscale than breakfast in the classroom. But in terms of principles, communication is the key. Collaboration is essential, and don't assume anything. In Jeannie's case, she actually had assumed that a specific principal in her district was going to be difficult to deal with about meals in the classroom. It turned out, actually, when she sat down with that principal and used these templates from our dining guide to go through the issues, that the principal was extremely supportive of meals in the classroom, really wanted to do it. And Jeannie could use these templates before they were ever filled out and made permanent for her district. She could use it to discuss all the issues that might come up. So again, we have templates and information for each of those stakeholder groups. We also have various templates for other purposes. This is an illustration of the template for the family letter. Again, if you're serving meals in the classroom now, or if you're going to be pivoting to that, it's very important to talk about issues and concerns in terms of parents. I hope I haven't talked too fast. Fortunately, you can go to the School Nutrition Association website all those resources in the dining guide for Meals in the Classroom are available for free download. I'm going to wrap up now, and then maybe we'll have a few minutes for questions. If you all have questions, I hope you've typed them into the question box. Carrie's monitoring those for me. I'd be happy to try to answer them. Or, of course, afterwards, feel free to contact me. Again, the PDF of my slides has my email address and the various ways that you can find me online. I love this saying from Helen Keller. I think it's absolutely critical now, whether we're talking about a school nutrition team or we're talking about a community. Alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much. And you all have been doing so much for the past 6 months. And I know some of you are tired and some of you are like, can we keep doing this? Well, I think we can keep doing it. I think we have to keep doing it because of the children. I know that's why many people are in school nutrition, but I also know that we often need to remind ourselves. This is another graphic from Cincinnati Public Schools that they published during the emergency feeding. A quote from Nelson Mandela, that history will judge us by the difference we make in the everyday lives of children. You make a difference. You who feed children make a difference absolutely every day in their lives. And to continue to keep that at top of mind is, I believe, absolutely essential. So we have left, I think now, about 4 minutes or so in this coffee talk. I'm going to take a drink of coffee, and Carrie can let me know whether any questions have come in. Carrie?
Yes, hi Dayle. Thank you so much. That was a wonderful presentation, and what a great way to kick off our last day of this event. Yeah, I love that Helen Keller was saying, and as I sit and listen to you, and I think about, you're not the only one who has really put out there. Communication is key, and it is so important right now during this time, and will continue to be super important going forward, because while we know this is a temporary situation, how long will it be temporary? It's feeling daunting. Yeah, I love your Facebook, and what an amount of work has gone into that. Just to create such a wonderful one-stop shop for all information, ideas. And I know that I'm looking at over 100 people attending this session this morning, and I'm sure some of them are just applauding, going, "Yay! I didn't know that existed." So thank you for all the hard work around that.
Well, let me just say, Carrie, here again it's tips for school meals that rock. I hope that those people who aren't involved will get involved. It's really simple. You just go to search on tips for school meals that rock on Facebook, and then it will ask you to just fill in your name that you want to join. Very quickly, that comes to either Jeannie or I. We just hit approved, and then you're in. And by the way, you said what a lot of work it must have been to put this together. Honestly, I have to tell you that now Jeannie and I don't put a lot of work into it, because it really is the members. Those
Right.
over 15,000 people are the people who post great pictures, who post resources, who ask a question. We really encourage people to ask questions and to crowdsource answers, because really the questions are quite often the same question from Maine to Texas and Texas to Montana. And it is, some very simple answer to an issue may have already been found by someone else. And really all we're doing is sharing those out to people. So I hope when I get off this, I can go to the group and approve a whole bunch of new members.
Well, I'm sure you will be busy today doing that, or over the next week. So, and I'll be honest, I don't see any questions coming through, which, basically tells me you have provided such a great amount of information that if they had any questions, you probably answered it in your presentation.
Well,
So
Thank you so much, Carrie, for inviting me. For what people need to know who are out there is that behind the scenes, you have just done a remarkable job. I don't think I have been so well informed for a 30-minute presentation ever before. I knew exactly what I had to do, and anytime I had a question, I just sent it in, and there was an answer. So the folks in Texas, and especially in Region 10, are really lucky to have dedicated professionals like you. So whether people are looking in Texas to Region 10 resources, whether they're looking, I really encourage you to look to the sponsors, the industry sponsors of this meeting, because they have incredible resources for you. But Tips for School Meals That Rock just wants to be one more place where you can find information that will enable all of us to do a great job of feeding children. So thank you for having me this morning.
thank you, Dayle. Thank you. And you know, the presentation is available through the Whova app, and our event will remain up even after today. Obviously, live sessions won't be going on, but I am recording all the sessions, including this one, and give me about a week and a half and I'll have everything on a YouTube channel. So if anyone missed your session, they can go to my YouTube channel and click on it and watch it. So, you know, the event lives on, and that's what we need these things to do. So thank you for your time this morning, Dayle. So appreciated, and enjoy the rest of the day in the event. We've got some great Rockstar districts coming up and next, and more gold sponsor presentations. So it should be a fun day, and USDA as well, and TDA. So everyone stick around, and thanks, Dayle, again. Appreciate all the great information.
Thank you. My pleasure.
All right. We'll see you around.